Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing something that is new for 2022. This is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Chronograph, base reference 26240ST. This one is in steel. For 2022, we have an all-new Royal Oak Chronograph and, on the reverse side, an exclusive Royal Oak 50th anniversary rotor, 1 year only. So the watch is 41 millimeters in diameter by 12.5 millimeters thick. From lug tip to lug tip, the case by itself is 51.4 millimeters, but if we include these little intermediate links, these two intermediate links are called plots, then the total distance across the wrist is a beefy 53.9 millimeters, which is why I encourage you to think of this as a 43 millimeter watch. It wears far larger than 41. In fact, I would even go so far as to say it wears, with the exception of thickness, almost exactly like an offshore 42. So the watch on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist is a good match, but I do think you need a wrist of at least my size to wear this well. You can see from over the top, it pushes right out to the edge. You could probably get away with a 15 centimeter circumference wrist if your wrist is flat across the top, but if you've got that small round wrist, you're going to want to look for a smaller Royal Oak. That said, the feeling of this watch is incredible. If you like your luxury watch to feel heavy and you associate weight with value, you're going to love this because this thing feels expensive. It is so solidly made, and I can so heartily endorse AP assembly quality and tolerances that I would almost describe this as wearing a gold Rolex. It's that heavy. So taking a quick look at those tolerances, it's not just the way everything's screwed together or the tightness with which they fit together. It is the fact that the finish is as good as anything in the industry. Now, yes, it's true, this new Royal Oak Chronograph has a display case back, but you don't have to go inside the watch to appreciate the finish on a full bracelet Royal Oak. Ever since the first one was penned by Gerald Genta in 1972, the idea has been to integrate the bracelet into the lugs, integrate the lugs into the case, and create the appearance of a bracelet that just happens to include a timepiece. The bracelets by themselves, if you include the links and the clasps, take about 9 to 11 hours to hand finish. That's just the baseline. That's just for steel. Take a look at this. The bevel along the shoulders, perfectly aligned from link to link and aligning into the shoulder of the lugs. The ends of the plots, these little faces that are mostly contained inside the bracelet, those are mirror polished, satinated across the top as well as, well, the wells between the links. You can see there's vertical satination on the side, and unlike Patek, which now makes its bracelets using pin sleeves, AP still uses screws to fix removable links, which I love to see because that is the more expensive way to make a bracelet. Taking a quick look at the clasp, internally it's a twin swing arm, twin trigger clasp. You can see media blasting and satin, two different finishes. It's a sequential close, one side before the other. These pieces are so burly and redoubtable that I could practically imagine them on a Royal Oak offshore. They have that much strength and apparent structural integrity. It is a well-made watch in every regard. The watch is also wonderfully coherent. Bracelet fades into lugs, fades into case. Character lines of bezel continue through mid-case, continue through case back. We have a recurring contrast between satination and polish, and you can see the complexity of the bezel. The outer face is satinated, the primary face is polished and rounded, and then the top has a curtain-like vertical satination. The rounded octagonal form, inspired by a vintage diving helmet used as a muse by Gerald Genta, and then we have hexagonal white gold bolts inside the bezel, and they are bolts. There are nuts on the opposite side inside the case. That's how they are able to align all the way around. We have hexagonal crown and hexagonal chronograph pusher shoulders. They look like screw downs, but they're not. You can start and stop the chrono without screwing anything in or out. I love how the hexes match the hexes in profile. We do have a screw down crown, and with a 50-meter water resistance rating, this watch is surface swimmable. We'll do a quick loom shot just so you can get a sense of the watch. It is a sports watch. It is well loomed. You should have no trouble reading it in the dark. Taking a quick look at the dial, this is not black, this is not gray, this is not blue, this is a dark green. Green is very hip these days, and why? Imagine it's going to have a relatively short window of mainstream popularity. I think it will always be very special. We have a green galvanized Grande Tapisserie, the grand is the large hobnail, the petit is what you find on a jumbo, and the mega, which is stamped rather than engraved, is found on the offshores. So this dial is created on a pantograph lathe, the 19th century mimicry engine that engraves the pattern from a large template. It follows the large template with the pantograph, and then it engraves the same pattern over the dial. And though you can't see it until you get really close, there's micro texturing between and over the hobnails that adds to the nuance. And then we have polished chapter rings for all of the sub-registers, which are newly symmetrical for 2022. Previously, small seconds was a tinier register. In good taste, AP gives us a date disc that's the same color as the dial. We have white gold hands and indices and logo because they will not tarnish or oxidize over time. Taking a quick look at some of the features, you can see this is a flyback chronograph. You reset, you restart without first stopping. So this version of the Royal Oak chronograph can time events in rapid succession without first coming to a halt. Now you also have a stop seconds function. So you can stop the seconds hand and synchronize the watch to a reference time. You also have a quick set date. By the way, the stop seconds function was not available on previous generations of the Royal Oak Chrono. Take a quick look at the font on the date disc. Note how it's exactly the same used on the sub-registers. There's a lot of attention to detail going on here. Turning it all over, you can see that new manufacturer caliber 4401. This is an automatic in-house caliber that was born, if you will, on the Code 1159 Chrono back in 2019. Now it's found its way to the Royal Oak chronograph, and there's a lot to love. First, it's a lot bigger than the old Frédéric Piguet. The Frédéric Piguet was about 25.6 millimeters in diameter. This is 32. So it deserves a display case back, and it fills that case back. It also beats away at 4 hertz or 8 beats per second compared to the old Movement's 3. It has a dual anchored full balance bridge and a free sprung balance, 2 new features that make the watch more shock tolerant. We have ceramic rotor bearings for high efficiency. We have a 70-hour power reserve. You can see we have a column wheel, which is black polished for crisp feel, and we have a vertical clutch, which unusually for this type of system is visible. I'll get as close as I can. You can see that vertical clutch. Let me try to get in focus there. You can see it moving very subtly underneath my finger, grasping and then releasing the engagement wheel that drives the chrono system. It's a 40 jewel movement. It's a combination of manual finishing and mechanical finishing, but the rotor is only manually finished. This rotor is only available this year, guys. It is a special 50th anniversary piece to celebrate 1/2 century of the Royal Oaks. You can see it has black polished 50, and then it features a black polished rim, but the primary top of the rotor is satinated. It's been skeletonized, and then bevels have been applied internally by hand, so we have many, many, many sharp interior angles where bevels meet. You won't find any of those elsewhere on the Movement, so this rotor really might be worth the price of admission. You might think it's a bit of a gimmick, but it's a gimmick only the owner will ever see, and AP has absolutely delivered the finishing quality here that you would expect on a watch like this. Now, finishing styles include the mirrored anglage on the rotor, the sharp interior angles on the rotor, black polish on screw heads as well as parts of the rotor. We have Côte de Genève across the bridges. We have engine turning perlage on the base plate. We have satination across all of the steel chronograph components, so it is a good looking Movement with a lot going on. A handsome watch with a green dial, likely to be a short run, along with a rotor that's guaranteed to be 1 year only. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Oh, one more detail. I don't know if I talked about the vertical clutch. It allows you to engage without stagger or stop. I showed you what it looked like on the reverse side, but its concrete advantages are super smooth chronograph engagement, and if you wish to leave the chrono running full time, there's no additional wear and tear with a vertical clutch. You can leave that chrono seconds hand running.